Welcome back. All right, so as promised, yesterday I talked about Kevin Hatcher. Today I'm going to talk about Derian Hatcher, and yep, he's going in the THG Hall of Fame as well. And I think it's about time I look at the THG Hall of Fame and see what kind of team I could put together with the members of said Hall of Fame. So Derian Hatcher, one of my favorite defensemen who ever played for the Dallas Stars, started out, of course, with the Minnesota North Stars. Was drafted by Minnesota 8th overall in 1990. By this point in time, everybody knew how good Kevin Hatcher was, and the question was, how good is his kid brother going to be? He was 6'5", 235 pounds. So the Hatcher boys could take care of themselves. American players and two of a really promising young crop of defensemen in the National Hockey League that happen to be American born. So 91, 92, he makes his debut with the Minnesota North Stars, plays 43 games, had 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 points. Never a big points producer. Basically a stay-at-home defenseman. He wasn't bad in terms of passes out of his own zone, this kind of thing, and his foot speed was good. 88 penalty minutes, because I have to talk about penalty minutes because he's a Hatcher. You kind of have to. And in the playoffs, he played 5 games, just the 2 assists. He did finish 7th in Calder voting that year. Impressive, considering he only played 43 games. But right out of the gate, everybody knew he was going to be pretty good. 92-93, what would be the final year for the Minnesota North Stars, plays 67 games, 4 goals, 15 assists, 19 points, to go with 178 penalty minutes. The Minnesota North Stars do not make the playoffs that year. They get moved to Dallas. He moves to Dallas with them. And 93-94, he ends up playing 83 games because it's an 84-game schedule. So he plays almost every game for Dallas. 12 goals. It is the only time he reached double digits in goals in his career. 19 assists, 31 points, 211 penalty minutes. So yeah, if you want to drop the gloves with him, I don't recommend it, but you can. In the playoffs, he adds 2 assists in 9 games. Plays a tough game. 94-95, it's a lockout shortened season. He plays 43 out of the 48 games. 5 goals, 11 assists, 16 points, 105 penalty minutes. Very reliable, steady defensive defenseman during an era where goal scoring starts to come down, but not yet. And so his role is really important for a Dallas team that does start to get better as the 90s go along. So 95, 96, 79 games, 8 goals, 23 assists, 31 points, 129 penalty minutes. So again, the defense is there. There's a decent enough amount of scoring, and the penalty minutes tell you he plays a tough game. 96-97, plays 63 games that year, 3 goals, 19 assists, 22 points. You can expect him to have seasons where he's going to miss games because he plays that very physical style. So the 97 penalty minutes is impressive considering he only played 63 games. In the playoffs, 7 games played, 2 assists. That is also the one season he appears in the All-Star game. So both Derian and Kevin Hatcher, All-Star game players. 97-98, he plays 70 games for Dallas, 6 goals, 25 assists, 31 points. So that's the third time in his career he reached 31 points, and that would be a career high. 132 penalty minutes, plays 17 games as Dallas goes on a nice little run there. 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. This is now where Dallas is getting really good, but they can't beat Detroit. And so that's the problem they have. Well, 98-99, Colorado, luckily for Dallas, knocks out Detroit, so they end up winning a cup. And Derian Hatcher is part of that cup-winning team. So this is after he's played with his brother. That was only for 2 short seasons, and then Kevin Hatcher moves on to Pittsburgh. But for Dallas, things go pretty well 98-99. And Sergei Zubov, who they got in the Hatcher trade, turns out to be pretty good too. So 80 games played for Derian that year, 9 goals, 21 assists, 30 points, 102 penalty minutes, plays 18 games in the playoffs, 1 goal, 6 assists, 7 points. He also was 7th in Norris voting that year, along with winning a Stanley Cup. So again, Derian Hatcher, one of the better players. And as I've said, when a defensive defenseman gets Norris consideration, or at least a little bit of notice there, that says a lot about how good he is defensively. That an award that very often goes to your highest scoring defenseman, they still get consideration for. 99-2000, he only played 52 games that year. 2 goals, 22 assists, 24 points. 68 penalty minutes. He plays 23 games in the playoffs as Dallas goes back to the final. They would lose in that final against New Jersey. 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points for him there. But again, Derian Hatcher at that point, one of my favorite players. I mean, why wouldn't he be? He's captain of the Dallas Stars as well. He's the second longest serving captain of the team. Gonna guess Neil Broughton to be first. 2000-2001, he plays 80 games with Dallas. 2 goals, 21 assists, 23 points. 77 penalty minutes. He plays 10 games in the playoffs and 1 assist. Dallas not getting back to the Stanley Cup final again after 2000 until 2020. 2001, 2002 plays 80 games for Dallas, 4 goals, 21 assists, 25 points, 87 penalty minutes, no playoff games that season. 02-03, what would end up being his final year in Dallas, sadly, 82 games, 8 goals, 22 assists, 30 points, 106 penalty minutes, and in the playoffs, 12 games, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. He was the second team All-Star that year and finished third in Norris voting. So the 2003 offseason, Dallas couldn't come to a contract agreement with him on an extension. So on July the 3rd, he signs with the Detroit Red Wings, a team that is known for spending money. And they spent some money on Derian Hatcher. 5 years, $30 million contract. The problem is he suffers a knee injury that would shorten his career. So he ends up playing 15 games that year, 4 assists, 8 penalty minutes. And in the playoffs, he plays 12 games in the playoffs in 04, just the 1 assist. So 04-05, he did play, not in the National Hockey League, as the National Hockey League was in the midst of a lockout that would take an entire year to resolve. And so going into 05-06, he ends up actually in Philly. How? Because they had the compliance buyouts. Because of the salary cap, well, Detroit needs to get under the cap. So your casualties, Derian Hatcher, despite them signing him to this nice long-term agreement, that's $6 million a year, they just can't do that with the salary cap being as low as it is. So they buy him out. And days after he's bought out, the Philadelphia Flyers say thanks. August 2nd of 2005, he becomes a member of the Philadelphia Flyers blue line. So 05-06, he plays 77 games, 4 goals, 13 assists, 17 points, 93 penalty minutes for Hatcher. In the playoffs, he adds 2 assists in 6 games. 06-07, he plays all 82 games. His offensive numbers drop. 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points. His penalty minutes have dropped off too. He's down to 67 penalty minutes there. So his game has dropped off a bit, and then we see it really drop in 07-08. He only plays 44 games, a knee injury. And again, that right knee really beat up at this point. 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points, 33 penalty minutes. In the playoffs, he adds a goal, 2 assists for 3 points in 15 games. So in the playoffs, he ends up with 133 games played, 7 goals, 26, 33 points. The regular season, he ends up with 1,045 games, 80 goals, 251 assists, 331 points. The 08-09 season, he ended up missing the whole season because he had knee replacement surgery. Yeah, they cut away from the bone or cut away part of the bone and replaced the entire knee. And when he was asked about it, and they said, so do you think you're going to return to the NHL? He said, it doesn't look good, but the doctors said no. So I doubt it. Basically, there was no ambiguous, maybe he can come back. It was, yeah, with that replaced knee, he's never going to play hockey again, and he didn't. His recovery was fine. He was able to walk just fine and everything, but the idea of playing hockey again at the professional level, it just wasn't going to happen. Now, during his career, he did get a World Cup in 96, had to feel pretty good winning that gold medal with Kevin Hatcher as well. He now is co-owner of the Sarnia Sting with David Legwand, so that's kind of a nice tie-in there. And yeah, that knee replacement surgery did end up ending his career. He was inducted into the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame in 2010. His brother is in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame as well, of course. And now they're both in the THG Hall of Fame, which does not have a physical building at this point and probably never will. I don't have Hall of Fame money. It's not there. But at any rate, Derian Hatcher, excellent career. Really solid defenseman. Again, just a really good, tough defensive defenseman. And if your last name was Hatcher and you played hockey in the 80s and 90s in the NHL, you were probably a defenseman that other teams didn't want to drop the gloves with and probably had to come up with a plan on how to beat. But they played very different games. Kevin Hatcher, the much better offensive defenseman. Derian Hatcher, the much better defensive defenseman. They were physically very similar in size. They looked a lot alike because they're brothers. And their penalty minutes totals were similar as well. But there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.